it with Doctor Who Christmas and regeneration stories. Ever since David Tennant left the show in Christmas 2009, it seems every Doctor should leave the show on Christmas. This is the conclusion to the Doctor trilogy, by which I mean The Name of the Doctor, which I thought was a good setup, Day of the Doctor, which was a phenomenal story, and now we have The Time of the Doctor as the climax. Did this ending do the trilogy great? Did this pay off as a satisfying ending? Well, almost. Clara calls the Doctor to pose as her boyfriend to her family for Christmas. However, this is cut short when the Doctor gets a call from this scientific church to do what else? Investigate a mysterious planet. It appears that massed forces of ships are orbiting this strange planet, drawn to a mysterious message that echoes out across the stars. So the Time Lord and his companion must learn what this enigmatic signal means for his own fate and that of the universe. Since this is Matt Smith's final appearance on the show, I guess I should start the good stuff with him. Everything Matt Smith does in this episode is just good. You can tell that he is putting every effort he can just for his final episode. His last final moments was really good. It's almost quite sad to see Matt Smith's young childish personality now trapped in an old man. Yes, I can see it's meant to pay tribute to William Hartnell from the hairstyle, the cane, and the dying of old age, but honestly, this is just beautiful. Something I don't think we've ever seen happen to the Doctor before since Hartnell's era. We've seen the Doctor die from forced regenerations, poisons, gunshots, falling from great heights, slipping off an exercise bike. What? But this is different. It's real. It's like watching an old family member or friend slowly losing their energy as they become an old, tired, aged person. And I think Matt Smith, even though he's still youthful, manages to play the aged Doctor incredibly well. And yes, like End of Time, I'll get to the ending in a moment, but let's focus on the story for now. The first half of the episode, I guess, took a nice easy pace after a repeating trend of wacky openings. The second half actually became a little jumbled up, but it had one or two good moments, whether it's the Doctor protecting the town or the Doctor saying goodbye to Handles on the balcony. Speaking of which, who is the best companion in this episode? Not Clara, no. The best companion is Handles, the little Cyberman head with a natural human-like voice, who follows the Doctor around. He was good, he was really good. Yes, I know he's just a head, but I literally enjoyed watching him and the Doctor together way more than I did with the Doctor and Clara. They just make a good comedy duo. And I guess the final act is probably the highlight of the special. From the old looking Doctor to the Dalek ship to the regeneration cycles, and of course to the final TARDIS goodbye scene, which I have to say, that TARDIS scene is probably one of the best goodbye scenes in the show. It took a little longer than I thought, but I was still emotionalized by Smith's tearful acting, the visual of Amy Pond, and even down to the removal of the bow tie. My heart just broke at all those moments. And the speech. I could never stop saying that speech to myself. This is easily one of Stephen Moffat's best written speeches, which I hope he does again for Capaldi this year. And speaking of Capaldi, what we got with him was good. And yeah, I did like that final line. But what about the entire story itself? Well, where do I begin? As you can tell, Moffat's reputation as a writer has been having a mixed, bumpy ride on his track record. When he's writing one story on its own, it's good. Whilst his track record as a showrunner, he doesn't know whether he wants to do an individual story or an overarching theme. But when he tries to put the two together, that's when he falters, and unfortunately, Time of the Doctor falls into that trap. A good example of this is the entire montage in the middle. Seeing the Doctor protect the town from all kinds of creatures, getting to know a few people, and defending a whole lot of monsters was good. I just wished it was given a lot more time to see at least maybe one or two more of these particular fights. But it reminds us that this episode is meant to be sad, deep, emotional, dark, every time Clara comes back into the episode. I think Clara should have been taken out of this story. I know she's meant to be the companion, and Gemma Coleman does a good job as always. I mean, I did like the 11th Hour poem, even though it's just Clara being all poetic again. But I think you could have had the nun lady or maybe Handles as the companion, and I would be fine with it. I think the Oswald family scenes were really unnecessary. Sure, it may lead to a funny joke, but no. The whole naked doctor thing is getting old at this point. The family themselves are not interesting people, apart from the grandma, but that's just a forced-in female version of Wilfred Moth mixed with Minnie the Minx from the End of Time. There's also this small subplot about this weird nun lady, Tasha Lem, who they tried to pull off as an important character. Now, there was like a small rumor that she was a returning character, but I'm sorry, I've never heard of this character, and I don't even want to know her. I mean, she's not like Faster and Jenny and Strax when we didn't know these characters, because by that time they were interesting characters when we saw them. And this one, Tasha Lem, whatever her name is, she's not interesting. I'm sorry. Now, I have a theory, but I'm pretty sure some other people are probably saying the same theory, but I'm just gonna say it. River Song was meant to be in this episode. I can tell by how this character is portrayed. She flirts with the Doctor, seems to know exactly why the Silence wanted to kill him, which still doesn't make any sense in the story, and she even flies the TARDIS. This character was clearly meant to be River Song. Who else? Who else? But I guess since Alex Kingston was unavailable, Moffat decided to add in this random character to stop there being any plot holes. So therefore, I didn't really like this character. And honestly, having the Time Lord's voice from the crack on the wall as part of the overall plot, I think it's a little too soon. What I mean by that is, we just had an episode where the Doctor saves Gallifrey from the Time Wall. One episode before this. I think having a mention of the Time Lords trying to break out in the episode straight after it, I think is a bit too soon. Which actually, I only recently discovered what this episode is. It's a last-minute story. You see, during production of The Day of the Doctor, Matt Smith did plan to do another series. However, once The Day of the Doctor came out, Matt Smith changed his mind. So as you can tell, there was like a lot of changes in editing scenes. You name it. The messed up montage of the alien attacks, the pushed aside characters, and of course, the bald Doctor. Come on. And the whole Doctor's final body, I didn't get it either. I guess with John Hurt it kind of makes sense, but the parallel Doctor's body counts too? I don't really get that, so I'm not going to go into any detail. I think this special is trying so hard to be Matt Smith's last appearance, but also a Christmas special, that it tries so hard to put in a lot of returning characters or monsters or references inside, like the Weeping Angels, the Old Daleks, speaking of which, where the Paradigm Daleks, the Cybermen, and even the Silence, which I'm pretty sure at this point, Moffat himself doesn't know how the Silence work. It's just too much. I guess all I can say is that Moffat has no idea how to move forward with the show, so he decided to throw in a new incarnation rather than play it out naturally. And why can't we just have a good story that doesn't have to include all the Christmas stuff? Why can't it just be a good story that so happens to come out on Christmas Day? I said in my End of Time review that even though I didn't think it was a good Christmas special, it was still a good story. This could have done the same thing. However, that's what this special was trying to do. It's obviously trying to capture the same qualities of the End of Time, and it fails. I guess in comparison of the two, the End of Time had the best story, but I think the Time of the Doctor had the best goodbye speech. And regeneration-wise, I don't think nothing can outmatch the Ninth Doctor's regeneration. So, in my opinion, the Time of the Doctor on its own is average. This episode has gone through rewrites and reshoots, and it clearly shows. A lot of time it goes all over the place, but other times it gives out some great atmosphere and emotion. The biggest problem is that the events that happen in the story is not as memorable or fleshed out enough as some of the other Christmas specials or other regeneration stories, meaning that it doesn't feel as large or epic for a final send-off. It has problems, sure, but it's hard to say that there aren't a lot of cool stuff. It's not fun, per se, but cool. And I guess I gotta give it credit for a Matt Smith swan song story from series 5 onwards. I guess it could work. It never gets too sad or too aggressive, but it doesn't take any chances either. There's no surprises since it's the same predictable story, but what we got is not bad. It's a perfectly okay special. It's an okay story for an okay Doctor. What more could you ask for?